Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Delafield Plan Commission meeting. I am calling the meeting to order, and I would ask that you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on the agenda tonight is the review and approval of the minutes of the December 2nd, 2025 meeting. Any comments or discussion?
I move to approve the minutes of December 2nd.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is 4A, and it is discussion and possible action on a request by Tom and Jenny Frank, owners, to construct a fence located between the road right-of-way and the nearest portion of the principal structure at W283 N3332 Lakeside Road, tax key number DELT 0768.025. Ms. Lato?
So the subject property is located on the north side of Pewaukee, and what's here on the screen, it is entirely within the county shoreline. From the ordinary. Fence that is existing on the property, and they'd like to move off of the road 6 feet. Right now it is located within the right, and it is going to be 4 feet tall. So because it's designed and in a different location and a little bit taller than the existing fence, it's not considered an in-kind. The highway superintendent, and he saw no issues. He actually drove out back and grateful that
Any discussion? Thoughts?
My concern would have been, is it in the right of way? And it's not, so.
I motion to approve the request for the proposed fence by the Frank family.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. And then the next item on the agenda is discussion and possible action on the condominium restrictions for the North by Northwest storage on a property located north of US Highway 18. John Burgett is the owner and applicant. Tax key number DELT 0843.998.002. Ms. Lato?
Okay, so if you remember from a few months ago, they were still working on their definition of restrictions. I've submitted that for review and approval, so I have reviewed entirety, and there are no conflicts with the town code or the conditional use of. Some things I just wanted to highlight is that it does clearly state that the are for personal storage only. There's no dwellings or social gatherings, overnight stays, or any trade for units. And I'll just clarify that we are just talking about the buildings that were already approved, not the ones in phase 2, which have some restrictions when that. So these are specifically for the buildings that you've already. A prohibition on signs by condo owners. Of all the outdoor amenities, the lawns, landscaping, sidewalks, conservation easement area. On the condominium plat, there will be further, which is essentially the land and the environmental corridor. Then there's appropriate place holders. operations in which things need to be recorded, so that's why they are light. And I did not find any conflicts with the town code, so therefore I recommend it.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or thoughts after reviewing these?
I had a question earlier, I had asked Michelle a little bit about it, but unless I'm missing it in here, can we just go back and revisit outdoor storage?
There is no outdoor
So,
storage.
okay, and am I just, I know there's a lot of words in here, is it, because so we said 0, I went by, it's a beautiful building, nice job, you're getting, I could see, so we already just we said no, that's what I wanted to confirm.
Yes, there's no outdoor storage.
Because I could see them needing some of it, but I just wanted to make sure we parametered it, but where is it in here, so I can find it here? Maybe I keep missing it.
If the property owner knows where it is included and wants to approach and comment?
I don't know the exact page.
Actually, sir, if you could approach the microphone so people on YouTube can hear you. And then just please state your name and your business address, please.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Nick Egert. I represent the applicant North by Northwest Storage. My address is 835 Geneva Parkway North in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Yes, I can confirm that this does not allow for outdoor storage. I can't point to the exact site in the rather long declaration, but I can confirm that is our understanding as well.
I think what else, if it's not in here, there is on. There's a placeholder early in this document for the conditional use permit, which we did, that was one of the first comments that I had made when I looked at the first draft, to make sure that it's referencing the conditional use permit, which is memorialized as part of the approval that this body and the town board's on as well. One of the conditions of that permit states that outdoor storage is prohibited. That is in the conditional use permit, which
Okay.
is also a recorded document and is cross-referenced.
And does not,
Okay.
and doesn't need to be in the condominium bylaws, decks and bylaws.
I mean, it's really a condominium bylaw is more of like the form of ownership and how they're going to manage that. It's, that there are no conflicts with their, and that it's referenced in there so that other people know that. But so I don't think it does need to be in there. And I'm pretty sure that it is, but I can't point exactly to where.
I just did a word search for outside,
Yeah,
and it is not in here.
outdoor.
Oh, I
Try
didn't-
that,
I
maybe.
didn't try it. The only thing it says is you can't wash a vehicle
Wash
outside.
the vehicle.
Right.
Sure. So it's in the conditional use permit, which is a recorded document referenced in here, but if you want to have it added into this document specifically,
I would argue the conditional use permit probably carries more weight than the condo docs.
as far as the town enforcing the
Yes.
violations, yes.
It's really probably just will be more for the people who have, this will be more helpful for their clients, but if we don't need it, yeah, I agree, the CUP is.
I did look at the declaration. I believe the confusion came from 6.01, but again, it doesn't say no outdoor, but it doesn't allow for it either. You're correct. The conditional use permit is a recorded document ahead of this document, so yeah, I don't see any worries. Moreover, when you look at the condo plat itself, the units are the designated space for storage, nothing else, right? So if you're an owner, you can't store something on the driveway or anywhere else on the property. It's just your unit. And that's where we clarify in 6.01 that it's for personal storage uses only. And that's 6.01 of the declaration.
Thanks for pointing that out. That's a good point. I put the condominium document up here for you to see too. That limited common element is around the buildings. So anywhere that you go into this common element space, that's the property, everyone who owns a condominium here owns that property right in fractional ownership. So you wouldn't be able to store something.
Any questions for the applicant? Or any
How's it
other-
going? How is business?
Well, John Burgett is here along with Warren Hansen, our engineer. I think John might be better about the business, but I hear it's great.
Thank you.
I'm John Burgett, 5500 State Road 50, Delafield, Wisconsin. I think my realtor has pretty much pre-sold the first building that we put up with the 10 units. I think maybe I have one guy here that is already put money down. Eric? Kyle, I'm sorry. Yep. So, yeah, to say that we are doing, I think it's popular. Most of the realtors that my realtor talks to say that it's something they really kind of, a lot of people desire. So it has worked good in Lake Geneva, so we'll have to see. Don't want to take it for granted, but so far, so good.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the condo restrictions for the North by Northwest storage condominiums.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And the next item on the agenda is a discussion and possible action to consider a future conditional use amendment for the Church of the Resurrection located at W287 N3700 North Shore Drive. Steve Berger and Tyler Shaber applicants, tax key number DELT 0766.034. Ms. Leda?
Okay, so Church of the Resurrection was developed in 1999 with a conditional use permit. I have it up here on the screen, off of KE. The approved uses in the conditional consist of normal church activities and functions, educational programs, picnics, outdoor sports and recreational activities. Kind of the typical things that you would expect. In 2010, another conditional use was sought for a daycare, which replaced a school, which received a different development in this case. But there has seen some activity since it's been developed with conditional use permits. So the applicant has indicated that the church membership has declined considerably over the last 20 years, and they now find themselves with some vacant space in the church that they would wish to lease out. The first applicant that really came before my desk was trying to just get a sign permit, and that's kind of how this started rolling, this as a retail space, which is listed in the report as this art parts upcycle. And so after talking with that applicant and the church, it was determined that we should really move forward first with the consideration of a possible amendment to their conditional use and what that might look like. So this is really a two-step process. The first one for the conditional use permit is that when there's an expansion, that's stated in a lot of different town conditional use permits. And the way that I've always kind of read that is that, yes, we'd like to hear more and kind of giving the go-ahead to move forward with applying for an actual conditional use amendment or a public hearing. So what they are proposing with the leasing of these two Sunday school rooms, which are about 14 feet by 22, might be a couple different options. One would be, and I can let the applicant speak to this a little bit more, but was to have people who maybe have home businesses that maybe just need to have an office space to leave their house, go somewhere quiet for whatever, reasons of their operate out of those spaces. The other one would be a business like this art part upcycle. I do not have a submitted plan of operation. I only know what she told me about what she was doing. She said that she was a nonprofit organization, but would also be holding, that has donated art supplies and is trying to create kits. Then they would, might be a retail element to that. It was a little bit unclear. Herself a nonprofit organization. Again, I don't have any application, but I wanted to make sure that was noted because, and again, the applicant can confirm this, but they're still talking with this. I want that to be consideration, so I want to make sure that that's thought about during this discussion of, yes. other than a church function. I will note, just kind of as an example, there's a church in Oconomowoc that leases space out to the YMCA programs, and there also is a church in that's located in Genesee Depot that amended their conditional use to start holding rummage sales outside on their space. So I just wanted to point those out as kind of examples of other churches that are trying to lease out their spaces to get some additional income for. With that, I don't think that I necessarily have anything else to add at this time. Unless you have- Good question. I don't.
I know one thing that has popped into my head with this, and it's with all consideration to the fact that this, these things do happen with churches. They do happen with financing on churches and membership on churches. And, being very involved on the stewardship committee at my church, I'm fully aware of kind of a lot of the problems that can happen, is just the concept of running a business out of a church. And where if we start, because when I was looking at the language and I think we'd have to do a conditional use. I know there's a chart that we have to see whether it still meets the conditional use, but whether it is a not-for-profit charitable organization or is it a business. Because, essentially if we end up, I think all of us have always been concerned about the slippery slope of a bit, where if we have one business operating out of a church, then at what point are there going to be more rooms, or what are the limits on having rooms in a church be utilized? Because this is a residential. I mean, I was noting the fact that this used to be residential. And so, and I don't know what the other churches in Oconomowoc and Genesee are, if they're in residential districts as well, but I'm, sensitive to the fact that there's a lot of homes right across the street and this is residential, and just when we start having one room be for business purpose, at what point that ends in a residential district. And so, frankly, I think your concept of wanting more information about the plan of operation for the not-for-profit, because you can say you're not-for-profit, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are categorized as one legally. And I know that the church is categorized as a not-for-profit or as a church, so it falls under the conditional use, but it's just something I think that when this does come before us that I'll want more information on.
Yeah. To me, when I was hearing cycle discussion early on, but then talking to Mr. represents the church about how their church office there, maybe in a private place to work. I thought those were just very two. One
Yes.
was like a retail business, and one was more of just we have quietly in from the church that maybe aren't members of the church or have any other. I felt they were really different proposals. I think both of which are still on the table. Council, which is my understanding, I wanted to make sure that they were both discussed so that they at least have some guidance on board, if at all. So, and another alternative to or maybe a separate type of conditional use, a new conditional use type that might be a little bit separate from like a church function, dedicated space. I think like that, and you have some of which It had to do with like accessory buildings on a church property. And we were having a discussion about that. It was like, I wonder if they were asking that because the sheds and whatnot are taxed differently than the operating out of. I don't know if that's the answer or not, but that conversation was just recalling. Find out a little bit more about that, but that's also an alternative, instead of trying to lump it, if it's something that you are interested in seeing and trying to kind of accommodate some of these churches that have this underutilized space, having a separate conditional use or specific parameters within the church conditional use.
I think, at least it just seems like we have to be mindful of what the conditional use is for and what the permitted uses are for the conditional use. And again, being very sensitive to kind of the reality of finances, but also knowing that, you know, it's not a commercial property. Would you like to say something, sir?
Steve Berger, 724 Winston Way in the village of Heartland. This has kind of evolved, right? We sit down as a council, we've got stress on our finances, big building, daycare, congregation shrinking. When I started, there was 270, now there's down to 70. So giving has been changed when it came to the pandemic. And so we're looking at different ideas. So during a council meeting, I'm also the janitor at the church. So I look and I go, I haven't cleaned that room in months. There's nothing in the garbage. There's nobody in there. So we started talking about how can we use these spaces. We're very sensitive because we're a church. We don't want to, and we don't financially think it's worth putting up a bunch of barriers, doors, locks, those type of things. We have open hallways. They're all in the pictures that you've seen. So we're very sensitive about who we lease to. Ideally, we'd like to have a sales guy. Pandemic's moved him out of his office. He's at home. Kids, dog, wife, everybody's. I need a spot to go and do my paperwork, make some sales calls. That's what started this whole process. Well, like anything, one in the hand and two in the bush, this came to us and we're like, okay, it's a nonprofit. We don't want a bunch of people wandering around our church when we're not there. So she's got a full-time job, by appointment, maybe Saturdays, and again, this would all have to be in the operation. But I talked to Rebecca and I'm like, I need some guidance, right? We're looking to you to give us some help. We would like to do it financially. This lease would be probably the number 2 contributor other than the daycare for our church. So it's very important to help relieve the pressure on the financial piece of it. We like to do things as a church, and over the years, we haven't financially been able to do that, right? We got to pay our light bill, we got to pay our pastor, we've got to pay those are things you have to do. So this would help us with that process. So when she came to us, it's like, okay, what are you going to do? I don't want 50 people walking up and around our classrooms, et cetera. So that's what kind of led us to, okay, what's your operation? All of our exits and entrances are in the back of the church. There's a big wooded area, parking lot, entrances, et cetera. The front of the church has got North Shore. That's got the road. So affecting neighbors and residents, I don't think would be an issue. We've got 22 cars that come in for the daycare. When we have church, we'd like to get more than our 40 or 50, but that's kind of been our piece. So, like I said, bird in the hand, two in the bush. We're looking at say, how can we make this work? She's open because we have the space. I think financially it's a good fit for both of us, but it's got to be a good fit for the town of Delafield also. So that's what led me and us to that. Rebecca's been very good about challenging me on, okay, what? How about? What are you thinking? Why? And finally I said, we need some help. We need somebody to say, we don't want to get on that slippery slope. I understand. I mean, we don't want to open this thing up and all of a sudden we got all kinds of issues. But we also looking for some help of how can you help us navigate through this so financially we can benefit from it and not be a burden on the town of Delafield. So that's kind of what led us. Maybe I jumped around a little bit. I apologize. But if there's any questions, comments, I usually come into these situations where I have my hat in my hand. I go, can you give us some ideas? You guys do this every month. For a lot of months, I do this once so far. And hopefully I'll be able to come back and give you the rest of the paperwork and et cetera for the conditional use permit. And so we're kind of looking for, are we barking up the wrong tree? If we are, I'm a big boy. I put my pants on one leg at a time. I understand. I may not like it. But if you can find it here's what we've done in the past, can this happen? We sure would like to explore that. So I hope I did that eloquently enough.
You did a great job.
To say, just, help us out. So.
You did a great job. I hear the issue that you have. I think, potentially it could be a good fit. It's just, we need some more of the details and to, dot the i's and cross the t's to make sure that, the church is protected, that we're not, opening this up, to issues down the road, and that the town is protected. Yes, it's in a residential area, but it's also on a very busy major county highway. The parking area is in the back, and I think, I would be interested in, figuring out those details so that we can make this work. I mean, obviously the church have been great partners with the town, allowing us to hold our elections there, and they've been great partners, and I hope that we can continue to partner with the church and help you with this, because obviously, I saw you guys put the new roof on, and that wasn't cheap either, so, yeah.
That's a whole different subject. We got halfway off the roof, the shingles got halfway off, and I don't know if you remember November, or
The rainstorm.
August 10th.
Yes.
But we had probably 3/4 of our shingles off of our church. I woke up about 4:30 in the morning. My anniversary was Saturday. That was Sunday morning. I went over to the church. I looked into the sanctuary, into our church, and on the right side of our church, it was raining like it was outside. After I stood there, I went and got buckets, garbage cans, pots, pans, and then I went, holy cow, I wonder what the rest of the church looks like. And it was all the way down.
I saw the pictures on Facebook, so
So I'm the property guy. Not only am I a janitor, but I'm the property guy. So we have a community of church members. They came out of the woodwork, cleaned. Big thing for us, get the daycare open. We can't shut the daycare down. And we worked from 6 o'clock till 9:30 at night and got it all cleaned up. They opened on Monday and didn't have a problem, and we went room for room, and our contractor did everything on the weekends, and they never missed a day of revenue at the daycare. 67 kids go to that daycare, 22 people work there, our caregivers. So I've been at that church for 20 years, and my kids were this, and now they're big kids now. So I have a lot of passion for that church, and I want to, and I think what I'm hearing, I hope what I'm hearing is, give us the details, and you're leaning towards, we can make this thing work.
Yeah, I would, it looks like in the memo that, you look for us to motion to recommend that they apply for a conditional use amendment, and bring those details forward, and, you work with Rebecca to get those hashed out, and then you can bring that back to us, and we can, kind of look at those details and, see what works and what doesn't work, and try to work with those, and, Rebecca can give you a lot of guidance too.
She's been fantastic with me. She's been fantastic.
But I think, what you're describing, could be compatible with the neighborhood and with the church. We just need to get those details and look at it as a commission.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm sure all of us want nothing more than to see if we can help you out, but just to play devil's advocate, it's an R1 zoning district. I know it has a conditional use permit, but play devil's advocate, should this be something other than R1?
Well, isn't it government and institutional?
It's here, it's
The land use
R1.
plan has it as government and institutional, and I put this in the report, kind of some backing for that it does say that those categories are meant for facilities and grounds to schools, churches, cultural facilities, and nonprofit charitable organizations. Like if there are different nonprofit organizations that want to run out of there, I will say that state statute does not require that a conditional use land use plan. So there's a little bit of a mismatch there, but it's the R1 district. Yes, it is residential around here. I don't know why it's always stayed R1. I think probably just because there is a conditional use over it, and what that
But
does
the church
is.
is zoned,
The
that land
church
is
is
zoned.
zoned R1 with a conditional use over it. So part of my point in kind of bringing up those other churches, the one in Oconomowoc does have a residential zoning and is surrounded by subdivisions. The one in Genesee is not, that's in the depot, so that's like a business. So they have, and again, I'm just giving this up as an example, church CUs have been expanded to allow. It's still. What is the scope of what's being allowed, and that's kind of where the details come. Proposal for the arts upcycle, or is it kind of office use, or both? And I just really don't have enough art park upcycle to give a good about it, but it makes me nervous to have coming and hosting classes and should be selling kits at church, because that doesn't feel quite in line.
We're not really excited about having classes there either. So when this came about, it was selling kits to kids, parents, schools. They can buy kits, they can do crafts and those type of things. When I heard, well, maybe we could do some classes, I'm like, well, that's not what we're excited about. So we would probably not allow that to happen. Again, you have people there. We don't have doors that we lock. You can walk from that classroom right down to the sanctuary in Narthex, and we obviously keep our office door locked, but we're not going to be every week putting stuff away, and that's just not what we want to do. So that we would talk to her about that also, and if that doesn't fit her way that she wants to do this kit business, then we would probably back away also, quite honestly. We're not looking for a bunch of people. I say, you know, when I talk to her, she's like, well, I can put these kits together, that people can come pick them up, and they can leave. I mean, it's not like they're wandering around Walgreens looking at different things or a store. You know, they are doing that, and we're like, okay, that makes sense to us. We don't have to worry about, you know, everybody kind of knows who's coming in, obviously. And it's just, well, maybe on Saturdays when I have a day off, I can open up and, you know, have open hours, and people can come in and take a look and get these kits. So we would love to have it full of parishioners, kids, but we just don't have that at this point. So that's kind of what led us. So, yeah, I thank you for your input. I thank for your consideration, and we'll try to talk to her and make sure that we got that business operation piece put together, and then I'll get it to your hands, and you can critique and, you know, give us some guidance.
One other thought, because you said you were looking for us for ideas, so if that doesn't work out, and I think we kind of communicated that in a ideal setting, finding a tenant who is more living the ministry of the church and is more aligned with the mission of the church would probably be something, and we talked about not-for-profit. So just kind of keep that in mind if that doesn't work out with her, because it's, I think we're all saying it's a good idea. We'd like to help you. But keep that one in mind as opposed to just trying to find people who, oh, you're working from your home, come on over here. I think finding something that maybe would be a not-for-profit type.
Yeah, we're
Ministry.
casting a pretty wide net, and we would love to get that nonprofit piece, so I appreciate the comment and the input. We're always, you know, as a group, we're church council, we have 13 members of the church council. We're always looking for things that we can look at, and so we'll keep that in consideration, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And I think, you know, because the conditional use does have some specifics in here as far as what, and as long as it's something that we can permit, I mean, would be a nice window to stay within, is something that we, according to the guidelines that we follow, whether it's, again, the not-for-profits or something along those lines, that would be helpful, because I think all of us are sympathetic, and we're all, you know, looking to do what we can within, you know,
Sure.
without causing potential future problems for either the town or for you. So,
Yeah, no, I hear you, and we're not, that's not our intent either. I mean, that's why I came here to ask for help. I mean, you guys do this, tell me, help me, you know, and I appreciate that, I do. You know, I could fill out a conditional, and then you look at it and say, no, okay, well, how, you know, I guess that's kind of why I asked to have this meeting and eat up some of your precious time away from your family.
Do you think, I mean, do we really need a motion, or I think we've kind of given him some direction, or should we just table this and he kind of has some direction for this? Because right now we're kind of motioning so much
I think this
unknown.
was just a discussion.
Okay, yeah, so we're just,
Is that,
it's sort of
Yeah, I
list, well,
think
it's,
we just directed, we don't need a formal motion or
Okay.
anything.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
and
just-
I think all of us are aware that churches have had to get more and more creative with what they're doing and what they're overseeing in order to fill funding gaps.
Yep.
And it's not, it's not like that's what you want either.
No. No, no.
You'd rather have 250 chairs and a bunch of crying babies. And so, no, it's true. Our priest says that when you don't hear babies crying, your church is in trouble.
Yeah.
And so and I had never thought about it, but it's true. So,
Again, thank you very much for your time this afternoon or this evening. I appreciate it very much. Appreciate your input. Appreciate all you've given me, and I hope to see you again soon.
good luck.
Thank you.
All right. And then the next, any other new business that came in? Okay. The unfinished business 5A, the discussion and possible actions on the next steps to address plumbing permitted in outbuildings. Ms. Lado?
Okay, so you have two papers in front of you. The second page is a spreadsheet that I put together just looking at other municipalities that have similar populations and incomes who can construct accessory buildings that may have kind of living units in them or just plumbing in general. As you can see, most of them are policy only. There's only one community that very clearly has a provision in their ordinance for plumbing, and that is the city of Delafield, and that's a new, adopted that recently. So I have that's about halfway down the page, I have those provisions just pasted of what they allow, and it's pretty similar to a lot of the community's policies in general too. And then in the memo that I wrote, kind of outlining that town's current policy again, I need to kind of retract something that I had done before. I said the R1A district is the one that talks about not including sanitary facilities or living quarters. They do state that R1A district, but so do a lot of the other districts. They don't mention living quarters. But so I'm not sure, in my opinion, and I have this in here, that could be interpreted as prohibiting a bathroom, but could allow for a sink, plumbing. So I think that we kind of get to the discussion of what you want to do. I have the districts written down about where that's specifically, of where it says like, not including sanitary facilities. But again, just to kind of revisit why we're looking at this, it's just consistency, that all the residents are being treated fairly throughout the town and based on what zoning district they're in, that doesn't. But then determining the intent of the code, based on what this says, the sanitary facilities. Not necessarily to ban the plumbing, but rather to prevent the uses from developing that are not otherwise permitted in accessory buildings. So things to consider as like a permit reviewer, these were always kind of my red flags of like, I need to ask more questions of this applicant. Now, I don't review permits here in the town anymore unless the building inspector asks me to weigh in. But different types of flags that I always have, if there's any sort of kitchen or kitchenette, and then I think with the county code, for instance, and the standard was, is there an oven? That's a pretty outdated standard now. You don't need an oven to have. I don't know if that's really a good standard to go for. Was back in the 70s when that was multiple rooms. A lot of times accessory buildings, you don't need multiple separated rooms. That was kind of a red flag.
Studio.
Well, exactly. A studio. Yes, and then a full bathroom, of course. I think a question that we need to discuss tonight is pool houses versus accessory buildings, because they are being treated differently in the town right now. So if that should continue as part of the current policy. Something that I learned is that a fire code is a private residential accessory building is not applicable. So there is no requirement to install things like a smoke detector. What concerns me about that is that plans often show as minimal detail as possible on purpose a lot of times, and then when a building inspector is going through, they might ask these questions, they're not going back to necessarily look at what was approved. I with code, they might say like, you really should put a smoke detector in here, but there is no requirement by law that private garage. So even though someone says, oh no, we're just gonna, this is just our hangout space. Very likely to happen there. You have plumbing in the building longer, right? You might have a sink, bathroom, to there for a longer period of time. So that's something to think about as well. Then again, just to revisit a statement, law does not allow. Waukesha County Environmental Health, I spoke with them, and their approval is driven by the proposed use and what is appropriately. If it does contain elements of a living unit, again, but that doesn't mean that they're going to not know the zoning, right? That's not really what their role is. They have allowed a workshop with a half bathroom, again, as long as that existing sanitary. Have any issue generally with like standard floor drains, and I asked, well, if you said state law allows them and they can just drain to it. The sanitary district is anxiously awaiting what sides because they would like to create their own policy that is consistent with the town's policy. That's kind of how this all started, is that they, there's a building being constructed that has a bathroom in it that the building inspector had permitted, but it happens to be on sewer. And the sanitary facility said, we don't allow any plumbing in accessory buildings. So that's kind of how. So they are considering possibly charging either half or full roof. And then that TIMCAP had noted that plumbing has to be 5 feet above the floodplain elevation. The floodplain or near the floodplain is going to be in Waukesha County's jurisdiction anyways. Houses. And the shoreline jurisdiction for the county, I have a little bit of a typo here. It allows limited plumbing that consists of one bathroom and one sink. I meant one toilet and one sink, or a shower. One sink and a shower, or a sink and a toilet is typically what is told to residents. And then typically, separate work basins are not allowed, but I think it probably has occurred depending on which planner you get. So there are just a couple things that I've listed here that you can do, one of which is status quo, do nothing, continue on as is, with the building inspector's current policy, which is sort of passed down right from building inspector to building inspector. And the next one would be to create a more formal policy just for the building inspector to help give him more guidance on what is or is not okay, and then environmental health approval or like Milwaukee Sanitary District approval, making sure that he has those things. Building permit, and then and then I have a couple different items listed there as well for consideration. So what is limited plumbing, the smoke detector issue, that's what the city of Delafield is doing. And then again, pool houses versus accessory buildings, they should. The last option would be to codify code language instead of having a policy.
Thank you for all that research.
Clarify something, so the deed restriction I found very interesting. So are they basically saying, yes, you can have all this stuff, but it's not a residence?
Yes,
That's-
so it would say something to the effect of, permit as, an applicant applied for an accessory building that contains one work basin and one half bathroom.
Or just say it's a kitchen and a bathroom with a shower, all that, let's say they get all that, then it would just say, but it cannot be used as a,
Yes, so other restrictions that have like second kitchens, Wexler County requires a deed restriction for any property that has a second kitchen, and that's what it says.
okay.
Second kitchen is for entertainment purposes only, cannot be used as an in-law suite without additional permits being sought for a separate residential apartment. Whether or not they do anything, but they're there for when the property sells.
Right.
Because it's a deed restriction, hold with the title, you know, the title gets, so that's why the deed restriction option is that it's a different course, but A, you have it signed and recorded by the current owner that says you agree that this is not going to be this or that, so if you do get something, you have something to fall back on that's very. Then the second thing is when they sell the property, a lot of properties are marketed as.
Yeah, that's what I
as
liked
a
about it.
Wonderful.
Because we wouldn't necessarily be involved, or we wouldn't be involved if it was just sold, but that would still be seen.
Yes, so again, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone's not going to do it anyways.
Agreed.
But at least it is there for the record on the property that this is not allowed by ordinance.
It's a great tool. It's a great tool.
It's, yes, that seems like it is.
But can, you can, a little less appealing. Tend to skirt it, because, to qualify as a residential, you have a bathroom with a shower. You have to have toilet, lavatory, shower or tub, and a kitchen sink. So if you have all four of those, it makes it, eliminate one of those, makes it less desirable to want to try to skirt,
Totally understand.
and so do you dial this in to where the plumbing code is your friend in helping you to create? It's not about enforcement, but it's about what they can build that would be appealing.
I thought about the analogy of television sets. 20 years ago, you had said you wanted to say that's insane. No one would ever do that. But now, people want to, they want those amenities that they have in their house in their party shack or their she shack or anything else.
3 or 4 car garage, I mean.
So I don't know if I want the city's fairly libertarian, if letting people do what they want. Should we let people do it, as long as we have a good stick or something good we can? That's the only thing I'm thinking about.
Well, I'd say, if you have an accessory building, I'd say, don't want it to be appealing as a possible, just restricted to where you have all 4 of those items.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the way it's been, right? That's what we've been trying to do past.
Yeah, right. Yes, there's no,
So, yes,
like a
absolutely.
kitchen, I would not approve a kitchen in an accessory. That half bathroom, unless it's a pool house and has been allowing a full bathroom inside of the dwelling. Accessory building.
If you have an accessory building that has a still not considered under the plumbing,
Sure.
okay? And yeah, I mean, that's,
And these are all, these hypothetical situations are all areas and all zoning districts that it's not allowed, right? I mean, I guess saying, is there ever a place that it would be allowed to have that? I mean, to have somebody live in it? That's why I'm just pulling up the zoning districts now. So, I mean, it seems like we're talking about things that are, I mean, talking zoning districts that it's only single family, correct?
So if an accessory building qualified as a residential living unit, now you're not complying with zoning district of having more than one residence on a property. for the density, maybe that's permitted with the land use plan. So even if it's smaller, you're still creating another residence.
Well, I'm just kind of getting at like what Pewaukee Sanitary had said, and that if, as long as someone's doing it legally, and we're charging for it, then, I mean, then he even said, they're just, I have a letter that, you referenced it here, and then there was another letter that he had written about just, what they would charge for them to hook up, and they're doing it legally. But if it's not legal to have the density anyhow, then it's not legal. That's why I'm trying to figure out, even when Pewaukee Sanitary they're acknowledging that, hey, this is doable if we go through these steps. And I think that's what I'm saying. If somebody is doing it, they just pull the permit and they pay the extra rue and.
Have to be a little bit careful about, I'm sorry, this is just a back up. Are you saying that for it to be legal, like for them to have plumbing in an accessory building, they'd also have to meet the density?
Well, I'm just posing the question where some of these, and your point is that an accessory building wouldn't allow it regardless. And I just asked, is there any place that it would?
I don't think so.
Because I personally think that if it's not legal, it's not legal, then we don't do it. But if there's some area where it fits in, I know there was somebody's like, oh, we don't want them to rent it. I think we're a county that is seeking places for people to live. If it's legal, and we can do something and legally hook up to the sewer and make it legal, then I think we should. I don't think it's so horrible.
Right. I think that you might be getting into the bigger discussion of accessory dwelling units. A great discussion to have, but is a little bit different than just plumbing in an accessory building. Certainly have that discussion and go down that path about accessory dwelling units, but that is different than just having, allowing someone kind of a half bath or, even a wet bar in their she shed or whatnot. I think primarily, I had one building inspector say, sometimes people come in and I see that they're adding all sorts of plumbing that's not on their permit, but it meets plumbing code, so I just let the zoning office know that they may be up to something, and I just approve it. And I'm like,
Accurate, but.
yeah.
Not my problem.
Exactly.
Not my problem.
Yeah, so that was a little bit kind of shocking, but he said, we have a really big problem here, there's not enough housing. And they're just kind of getting away with it, and it's a big problem now for the zoning administrator, so. So I think that this kind of started of people just wanting to have that extra like entertainment space, but may or may not be approved, and I think without going into like too many code amendments, I think, which at some point I think will be happening anyways in the next few years or whatnot. Where the sanitary facilities, what does that mean? Is that a bathroom or not? That is in a lot of these districts, so you're gonna allow a work basin for someone, I think that kind of sanitary facilities. Want to allow for a bathroom in an accessory building, then I think sometimes that statement from.
So, has the building inspector requested any?
The building inspector kind of is the impetus of why this is in front of us this evening,
Okay.
because he would like it to be codified and spelled out, so it's not, using his best judgment, and so that,
Let's either a clear policy or put it, or codify it, so that he knows exactly what he can and cannot permit.
Well, I guess my thought is if no one else besides the city of Delafield has codified it, and everyone else just has formal policy, because policy at least is easier to change than a code. That's the one positive, is if for some reason we find out the policy doesn't work, you can change policy a lot more easily than you can change a code. So if he, needs guidance, then, one thought is, because we've always wrestled a lot with adding a new code, whether it was a lighting code or things like that, simply because it's always the what ifs and not knowing what might happen down the line that either is an unanticipated application of the code, or just things change.
Sure.
And so, I know policy's a little bit more flexible as far as, or flexible is the wrong word, but policy's a little bit more able to be shifted for the times. So-
Yeah, you can pivot them a little bit quicker than you can a code.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm just wondering, if he wants guidance, then perhaps the policy,
Door needs to stay open.
yeah, the door has to stay open with the meeting. I know, at least one of them, I think one of them does.
At least one of them's
I know. Some people don't know when they're booming. And so no, and so it seems like a policy, at least my initial gut on this is if no one else has a code, it's probably a reason. But then also, it allows us more flexibility if in 5 or 10 years we find out that there's something that needs to get changed. But if he wants more specific policy, then we can provide it.
I think the main really knows what to do, and it's really not one size fits all. Because fair. So I think I like where you're going kind of with a adjusted policy, because you can see how it plays out over a couple of years. Are there any issues? I think this is probably like the first comes from the sanitary district being like, wait, can't approve this, without Mike knowing that, because it often it's someone who's on at least at the sanitary district. It's pretty consistent throughout all these municipalities, like the half bathroom. So in my opinion, I don't know why a shower is necessarily.
Why do you need a TV?
Hmm?
I'm saying,
If you're working out and you want to shower, I mean,
Yeah, but I think if it's an accessory, I think we discussed this a bit last time, if it's
Right.
an accessory building to your home, I mean, presumably, you're not like covered in asbestos or something. You can walk into your house, even if you're working out outside, you can walk into your home and shower. It's not like, there's very limited instances where you couldn't go into the main building.
but pool houses, I mean, I think I do, I mean, I agree that having it a full thing for a pool house then you don't have to traipse through the house. You can just take your shower right in the
I
pool
think,
house.
I mean, a pool house though can be different than,
Not like what I saw in one of these.
Yeah, I mean,
Pool house, that full bath needs to exit to the,
It says,
No, that's-
it's Eagle that you're referring to it. Bill Amazon, who I believe has this too. A pool house may include a stand-up shower, provided access to the shower is via an. So it's a habit for the reason that you're saying, it makes sense. But it's not a full 3-piece bathroom set that's all together.
well, and presumably, like, it's not going to be used if it exits to the outside, it won't be used in the winter.
Right.
Um,
Yep. So that's an option. I always kind of like that. I wanted to make sure to include that. Calling something a pool house.
Hot tub, yeah.
Water. Policy can be. So, one other thing to think about, I guess, would be yes or no, and then like the idea of the deed restriction, have a 3-piece bathroom. There's so many different ways that you can go.
policy?
It looks like the Village of Summit has. They say limited plumbing consisting of no more than one toilet and one sink with a deed restriction.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what Summit has.
But this wouldn't require somebody, I know we talked with this the last time, and that if they weren't, then when they sell, it's listed as a deed restriction, but they're not going to be required to take it down.
No.
Okay, because last meeting, somebody referenced that. I just want to say I didn't like that idea. Okay, so just a deed restriction, but not, that. Okay.
It requires you to kick out your renter.
Or the mother-in-law that was living there.
Well, or if you buy it thinking that, you know, the way it was marketed, that you
Don't
could
buy
do
it.
other
Okay.
things. You
Yeah,
do
I think
something
deed
different.
restriction is fine, just, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all seen people who market something that's not in compliance with the code, you know?
yes.
I think there's been discussions here where they're selling it this way, and we're like, we don't really care how they're selling it. That's not that's not our business. No, I mean, I like the deed restriction, and like Ed said, it's a good tool. So so the questions you need us to answer are,
You want to kind of go through them? Yeah.
What I'm gathering so far is that we're interested in a more clear policy decision.
Yes.
yes,
Okay?
Yes.
And any kind of kitchen elements permitted?
I don't think we really need to get into it. I mean, people, you're right, people can put a pizza oven, so
Like a
No,
kitchen
it's a
sink.
kitchen sink. And
It's a
so
kitchen
that,
sink.
that's.
but
what
we're
I
allowing a
started with.
sink.
Because if you have a full bath and a kitchen sink, I have someplace that's a peel. So I'm saying that if you have the kitchen sink, then you don't have the full bath, you only have the half bath.
well, and
So
that's kind of like the
it's
town of.
it's a sink, but it's not multiple sinks, it's a sink.
Correct.
But, yeah, or if you have the full bath, you have no kitchen sink.
Yeah, you can have one or the other.
Well, so
Right.
that's kind of like Town of Eagle, where it says a single compartment bar sink and a half bath, where it's like you
Trying to ask
get,
about
you
the
get
bar
one
sink.
sink, one toilet,
Exactly,
and then,
because when you start to establish that full bath and the kitchen sink, you start.
I was thinking when you said kitchen, I was assuming sink is its own thing. Yeah, you're right. We don't want to have multiple sinks, but I was thinking you meant more refrigerators, pizza ovens. That's what I was thinking about when you said kitchen appliances.
Yes, the sink is really.
Okay.
It used to be the oven, and now it's the sink. You need the water to really make that appealing and to run a bunch of other things. So one sink and one toilet. So that doesn't necessarily mean a half bath. Someone could put just a single toilet and then a work basin sink, or in their bathroom, a work basin sink. Am I understanding that correctly?
Eagle has a single compartment bar sink and a half bath, which is a sink.
They do.
That's what it
And,
says.
coming from Eagle, I don't like that policy, because someone that to construct a 1,000 square foot accessory building that had that provision. Her sink was a bar sink in her.
so I think at least what I think I'm hearing is like,
Occupy that in this, not a bathtub or a shower.
But there was no shower in that one.
There's a laundry room though.
I mean, it seems like so it seems like what I think I'm hearing is a sink, yeah, a sink, a toilet, and then a shower if it goes to the outside, and a deed restriction. Is that kind of what I think that's what I've been hearing.
Yes.
Like a
And-
sink, one sink,
Yeah, the shower would only be in the case of.
For a pool house.
pool house.
Well, and again, I know you've said a pool house or boathouse, and I know you said that they don't allow it in new boathouses, but I'm just reading Tom's letter that he references it, that he's okay with it as long as he just needs to know, and that how it has to get, where it has to get located, and that then they have to go and get a permit.
State law trumps that. So we're in a township and we can't have new bathrooms and new boathouses in the township.
And
Villages and cities are different.
even though, Tom, I know what you're referencing, is that it could be okay. If there is a sewer backup, I mean, that sewer easement runs down by the lake. If it's backup, it's coming from the boathouse, and it's gonna go right. So really, said he would be okay with it, but that's the rule, but.
Right. for just towns, but like Village of Pewaukee, City of Pewaukee can. Same like City can, town can't. Okay, I'm just confirming that. Okay.
And if they do it anyway, they just don't get a building permit, or they don't get occupancy, is that what happens? They add the second sink? I just don't know.
What, the boathouse?
No, not in the boathouse, in a regular accessory building, if they say, great, I understand you want, but I need a sink, work sink, and I need a sink and a toilet in the bathroom, and we don't allow it, he says no, what happens?
Well, hopefully they abide by his ruling, or what happens, 99% of the time is everything gets built, permits get issued, and then, they have their buddies or they have somebody on the side come and
Right.
put that sink in,
Not very hard, right?
I mean, we can't,
That's, I was
Poli-
just
yeah.
asking, yeah.
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 What Mike would do is deny that permit until
Deny
it
the
gets
permit.
revised plans that show it meets.
So you end up with not a building.
Eventually, people would just. Bathroom and have. Okay.
So the definition of limited plumbing, it sounds like we're hearing a sink, a toilet, a shower if it exits to the outside, and it is in a pool house, a deed restriction. And then I think the only question that you had was, should smoke detectors be required if the building is to be finished or contains either kitchen or bathroom elements?
Yes, and along with a deed restriction, he should be required, before he issues the permit, to check the box with environmental health if needed, and LPSD if he's on LPSD, or Delhart if he's on, if they're on a sanitary sewer. So that everybody has awareness of what's happening at that property. Especially if we're gonna charge extra roofs.
How does this answer the reason, one of the reasons that this came to light? So he's pumping, they don't live in that building though, right? That's an accessory building. The one that, on Maple, that this is why it's come to, I think that's why we're looking at a lot of
Accessory
this.
building.
It's
with
an
a-
accessory building,
Yeah, it's
so.
an accessory building with a,
But he could, so we're saying he can, now we're saying, yes, he can have a toilet, he just has to, I think the issue is how he was hooked up, he just has to go get on the agenda at Pewaukee Sanitary, and,
Well, right now, their policy is to not allow it.
so we're allowing it, so now they just have to do it legally
Decide if they want to have a policy that's consistent.
with
the
ours.
town policy.
Right, which it sounds like he's open to it, then they'll just charge for
Yes.
it, as long as we allow it.
How
Okay,
they're, what that policy is going to say and how they're gonna charge for it.
okay.
If they're gonna charge for it.
Because it seems like he's open to it, he's just waiting for us to make a decision, I'm just kind of reviewing that. So we're making a decision, if we're okay with it, they will review and say, yes, I guess okay with it too, and they'll probably charge, and then it's done legally and permitted. Okay.
Does that answer your questions?
The deed restriction will be for any building that has, any accessory building that has any sort of plumbing in it,
Yes.
Toilet and sink.
a toilet and a sink?
Well, it says, I think it's, should a deed restriction be required if there's any plumbing proposed?
Okay.
I think, I mean, any is so much easier than fighting about a toilet and a sink, just like if it's in there,
Can't disagree
there's a
with that.
restriction.
Okay.
The only thing I would.
Unless, no, is anyone?
No,
No,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
with you now. The only thing
Okay.
I would say is, I would disagree with this, I don't think you have to say door to the outside. I don't think you have to say.
Well, that's a pool house. Well, I think you need that because otherwise you're starting to make the
Totally.
pool house more.
This isn't
appealing to
California.
Violating.
We're not California. We're not gonna have people living in our pool houses in town Delafield.
But I think it is nice that
I-
it's consistent.
Totally
If it's,
understand what you're saying.
you know, yeah.
And I'm just
But
saying,
that's a pool house.
I wouldn't-
It's not, it's specific to pool houses.
is that the way you said it?
Yes,
A specific. Okay. Well, could they have, if it's a non-accessory, if it's not a pool house, it's just an accessory building, what are they saying, what are we saying they're allowed to have and have a deed restriction?
A sink and a toilet,
Not a shower.
not a shower. Pool houses can have showers if
Okay.
that's,
And are we still putting a deed restriction if somebody just wants to put a slop sink in their work accessory thing? So you're saying we still need, they're not putting a toilet, they're not putting a shower like a boathouse, they're just putting a slop sink in?
that any plumbing.
So that's what, I mean, I'm just confirming that that's what we want to do, because that's much more limited, is just a single
I don't
slop
know, it
sink.
seems to me to be like just really easy. If there's plumbing, there's a deed restriction, and it's across the board.
And the reason I agree with that is, it's so easy to put in the other stuff,
Yeah, I mean,
once you got the first one in.
yeah, once you got the plumbing in there and you get the water, you know, it's easy to see things multiply. So we need to document and people need to know that.
And I can create template restrictions essentially. Go record these, so it's not overly burdensome for them to do that.
Yes, that'd be
Obviously,
great.
They need to be
Make it
modified
easy.
based on the situation, but it's not long to draft those up, so.
Or any other discussion on this topic? Yeah. And then, any other unfinished business or anything else that's come in?
No, I do have, sorry, just a quick question about the next step for the plumbing. Should this go, should I write this up and it go before town board to get like time?
Yeah, I mean, because ultimately it's, I mean, the planning commission is making a policy decision, but then the town board would be, is ultimately the,
Okay.
Do we need to look at it again, or just let it go?
yeah, I mean, I think it would come back to the planning commission. The planning
First.
commission would look at it and make a recommendation.
Just because we've been kind of going over it a bunch of times, there might be something that we
Yeah.
should see it before it goes.
Sure, I'll have that set for the next meeting then.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank
Any-
you.
Any other discussion? And the next meeting is March 3rd, 2026, at 6:30 PM.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Good evening, everyone.